Hello everybody, this is W9 Echo Hotel United, W9EHU, John. And today I want to talk about the Hallicrafters SX101. And this one's a Mark 1A. And I want to tell you about a problem I've had, a mechanical problem with the tuning mechanism. And I finally figured out just what to do, but the manual doesn't mention anything other than restringing the dial. But as far as making the thing work properly, going back and forth on a tuning dial, it doesn't tell you anything about it. So I'm going to grab the camera here and give you a close-up of the radio and explain different things to you. Okay, here's the receiver. Got the front end off of it, naturally. And the first problem I had is when you tune this thing, see it's going across nice. Uh-oh, see? The gears are slipping in there. And I had to take the whole front end off just to get a good look at what's going on. And on this tuning shaft, the main tuning shaft, there's actually a gear cut into the shaft itself. I don't know if I got enough lighting to get down in there or not. But right down in here, the main shaft, there's a gear cut into the shaft itself, and then you got the rotating shaft up here, and then the main tuning mechanism here for tuning the variable capacitor back here. What I found was that actually, and the manual says nothing about it, that there's a screw up here, adjustment screw, and you got to screw that down enough. And what that does is it puts pressure, the screw here going down, and the point of it puts pressure and pushes this whole mechanism downward. And that puts pressure on the main wheel here against the smaller reduction, and then clear down on the shaft, the tuning shaft itself. It keeps tension. There's a little spring here, take up a little tension down in here. Let's see if maybe I can see it right there, right down in there. But these three teeth have to mate properly. And if they're slipping, then you're actually grinding away on this shaft down in here, and that's not good because it's only looks like it's brass. So you don't want to tear all that cuttings up there, the grooves on there. You don't want to cut it all up. This way it's going fine. This way it's not. So the problem was that the screw here, which was had some kind of chemical on it, there, it hardened up on it, and Loctite stuff had come cracked loose or something. And this thing, just by turning back and forth, the screw was backing out because of the action going up and down. The screw here would raise up. Now you notice here there is a little bit of wiggling here. See that? Right there. And you think about it, all you got is threads here, and you got maybe one thread going through this metal L bracket here. That's all it is. So there's a lot of tension on there. And so I start thinking about that, and you know what? I come up with another idea. I need something coming down here, another nut or something to put pressure on this L thing and give a little more reinforcement here. If they made this L bracket twice as thick, where you get a couple threads through there, then you probably wouldn't have to worry about that wobbling. So what I came up with is my salvage bag box there. I come up with on one of these things right here. And all it is something from a piece of equipment, like they put this on the bottom of a chassis of a computer or something, see, and it's threaded, 1/4 inch. And it holds circuit boards. You place a circuit board. Here's another one here, which is just a round one. And that's on the bottom of a chassis of some kind of a piece of gear, and the circuit board lays on top of that, and they put the screws down to hold the board. Well, I saved those things like that. And this one here actually has a slot in it, which is even nicer. See the slot across the top? And you could do that with this one too. And what you would use is you would just use a Dremel tool. Find the camera here, and with a cutting disc, and just zip down here and cut a groove in there, about a 1/8 of an inch or you know, 1/4 inch down, and then make another one 90 degrees from that, and you would end up with a slotting one like I have right here. So what I would do, what I'm going to do is install this thing. I'm going to put the Loctite on it first, and it's the right here. It's the blue, the color blue. That's the medium strength. You don't want to use red, because red is supposedly when it finally locks up, it's not coming out. You won't be able to make an adjustment for gear wearing or anything like that in the future. So use the blue. And what I would do is I would take this, after I got this screw here screwed down to where the dial goes back and forth without slipping, then I would screw this down in there, and that's going to be what more Loctite, and that's going to give reinforcement to the threads here. It's going to screw all the way down, and this thing's not going to be able to wobble at all. Be locked down in there real tight, see. But now, since you want to use a round one too. You don't want to use some of these standoffs they're like hex, and then you got to cut it down, because you can't get it up in here. So I take this out here, and it's not great holding the camera with one hand, and I had to do this here. What I did was, if I can get it out. Well, let me try my other hand here. Yeah, we're working. There it goes. Now, there's a bolt through here. It just goes on the other side of the mechanism here behind the flywheel. Right here. I just took a 1/4 inch wrench like this, and I made sure that I had a real tighten it down. And then I came back over, took my Dremel tool here with the disc grinder. I got in here and I flattened this out a little bit. I didn't have to do it much, because my round 1/4 inch type of nut here was just touching that screw there. So I wanted to go straight on down on that adjustment screw without bending. So that'll fix that once I put some of that Loctite on there and get the screw down. And then when you want to make sure that you want to go all the way. See here, this is slipping. See, there's no pressure on it now at all. But it's going this way fine, but when it goes opposite, it wants to slip. So you should be able to go track back and forth here. Go all the way to the end, go all the way to the back. You know, once you got the screw where it's not jumping around, it's not slipping. And go back 3 or 4 times, make sure the setting's right. And then, if you're going to use my things like this, and this one here, you can see down in there. When you got that screw adjusted up here, here, down in here, you want to see where that slot is in that screw, you know, and so when you screw the other one on top of that and try to tighten it down, you don't want the inner screw to move. You want to stay right in that adjustment right is. You just with the outside edge with a slot here, you go on the edge here, on the very edge, and you can turn this around without moving the one in the middle. So I have a screw like here, screwdriver down in here holding my setting. Then I have another screw going around, another screwdriver going around and turning this thing until I get it nice and tight. So now that thing is really going to be locked in. Okay. Now that was the first problem. The second problem was that my point setter, my point reset down here, and that's the control right here, and that turns. See how this thing is moving the adjustment. When you got your 100 kc calibrator on and you got this dial turned to 7.20, you got your calibrator on, and it says it's showing that the pointer now physically is not right on the 7.20 setting of the readout. So you take this point reset and you move the dial until it locks right in on 7.20, and now you're calibrated and you should be good as you tune the variable back and forth. Should be very close. Okay, but now mine, when I tune from one side of the band to the other, the whole mechanism here, this whole mechanism would shift on me. I was wondering what the heck, and the manual says nothing about that either. Well, after I got the cover front end off and I could take a good look in there, what I found was that right down in here, see, there's the pulley for the cord, but there's an adjustment right here. There's a screw there, and there's one on the opposite end here. And what you do is you tighten it down, both try to get them equally down tight, snugged I should say, and you want to get it to the point where the tuning point to a reset thing here, you can still move it, but it's stiff. Okay, and it's nice and stiff. You got to put a lot of pressure on it, but it's movable. Okay, see here. And so when you do that, then when you go with the main tuning and you go to the end here, when it hits, it doesn't move this mechanism here. It's rock solid right in there. So there's the two main things. There's one other thing you can do also. You want to look at feel your pressure on your tuning indicator here, the string. And what that is there's a spring right here. When this thing gets all wrapped around and all that, and you end up, you hook this thing down in here, and the spring puts tension, and puts tension on the string. Well, this string, I don't know how old it is. It might be 60 years old. Radio is about 1956, 57, somewhere around in there. The SX101 Mark 1, so it's about 60 years old. Well, all I did was I unhooked it here. Still got a tension on there, but then I brought this up out, and all I did was tie one more knot along the spring here. So that takes up maybe 1/8 of an inch, makes the dial cord shorter by about 1/8 of an inch, maybe, or maybe a 16th. I don't, whatever, but it does. And then you take and you just pull it back down and hook it back on here. Then you want to run your dial up and down 3 or 4 times, and that's to try to redistribute distribution with the string around there, and it'll make the string tighter. So you got a nicer, smoother action on here, and your pointer's not going to slip around. So that took care of that. So that's three things you can do to fix this radio if you got a tuning problem. So I'm going to go ahead and put the screw in here and make my adjustment, and then go from there. So I'll be back with you in a minute here.